All right, clicking through screens here. Your favorite producer, Nick Marro here with Smitty to help you break down tonight's NBA DFS slate on both DraftKings and FanDuel. It is Thursday, November 7th. Only three games tonight, so it should be pretty easy to tackle. But at the same time, I mean, we're going to be digging a little bit deeper in the dumpsters than usual. Smitty, what are your overall first thoughts on this slate?
I think it's a pretty good slate. I liked it a little bit more when I thought Giannis was going to be out, but overall, I think it's still a pretty solid slate for a three gamer.
Yeah, man, I tend to agree. And all the games, right, they start at the exact same time. So it's almost like a turbo slate. So you shouldn't have to wait to sweat if you're on top of the leaderboard, which is good. And going to use that to toot my own horn a little bit. Did come in first last night in the $12 single entry. A lot of plays we talked about on the show. Jalen Williams being one who we talked about. Only 2% owned really helped me climb that leaderboard. But the late AD news kind of bailed me out. So pretty happy about that. Uh, I don't know. I don't like flexing or anything, but it's my first takedown of the year, so I feel pretty good about it. But yeah, man, let's get another tonight, and hopefully we get a bunch of screenshots in the Discord. As always, guys, please like the video, subscribe to the channel. That helps us get more free content like this out to you. If you like the model you see here on the screen that we'll be using throughout the video, links to get access to that are in the description below, as well as our Discord, where you could access us for one-on-one information, etc. But yeah, man, without further ado, let's get into this slate. I know we got a few folks in chat. I'll shout all you guys out once we get into the first team or game or so. But let's hit the ground running here. So first, we got Minnesota Timberwolves and the Chicago Bulls. Again, all three of these games start at the same time, so depending where you're looking, they might be in a different order. But they all start at 8 Eastern. Doesn't really matter. But yeah, let's talk about the Timberwolves first here. Yeah, only G Leaguers on the injury report, so they're about as healthy as they've been all season. Not that they've really been banged up at all. Let's take a look here. Yeah, Edwards, once again, one of the top OF index plays on a three gamer. Really no surprise. Randall looks good here as well. Lots of ownership going to this entire team. And when I say the entire team, it's everyone getting at least 10 minutes. If you're under 10 minutes, you're not going to show up in the model. But we are getting guys like Alexander Walker, DiVincenzo, who's starting to play a little bit better. Player I always love, Naz Reid. But I mean, even for a three gamer, pretty popular team. And just an excellent matchup against Chicago. But Smitty, what's like your kind of high level overview of Minnesota here? Anything you're super bullish on? I mean, they do seem to be more popular on FanDuel tonight than they are on DK.
Yeah, Edwards is just mispriced there. My favorite play from here is DiVincenzo. Like you said, he's been playing better. The minutes have been there. And there's been some kind of coach speak on that too, how the minutes are still going to be there. He played 14 minutes straight the other
Yeah.
day, so I think that's pretty interesting. I like DiVincenzo and Randall. I think Randall sets up really well against this Bulls team, and overall, they all just look good with how tight of a rotation that they've ran.
Yeah, man, I'm totally with you. And I mean, guys like Conley have low floors, McDaniels, but they're cheap on a small slate where there's not a ton of value. We at least know they're going to get the minutes. I mean, I'm with you though on DiVincenzo. I think he's a really solid play. I'm always bullish on Naz Reid. That's probably going to be my kind of, I don't know, stand I take on this team tonight, even though he is pretty popular. Just having that power forward eligibility makes it pretty easy to get him in. But you mentioned it, man. This is just a great matchup. I mean, Chicago, not the best team defensively, certainly. They're playing pretty quick this season, so they check a lot of boxes here. So yeah, tough not to like them. But let's pull up chat now, see how you guys are doing. We got Justin Jennings in here, Keith, Unicorn Love. Great to hear from all you guys. Courtney, couple congrats from the guys as well. Appreciate it, fellas. And then Jeremy Sweet, good stuff on the win. Watched all last year, back again this year, man. So yeah, let's just build momentum. That's what this is all about. When you get hot, just try to stay hot. But let's go over to the Chicago side of things now. Taking a look at their injury report, they do have some significant news. Obviously, with Zach LaVine out, still no Lonzo Ball. Yeah, that's rough. Jalen Smith is available to back up Vucevic. He was drawing some ownership earlier in the day, still getting some over on DK. That's my first question for you on the Bulls. I know it's not the funnest one, but what's your take on Jalen Smith? I mean, there's not a ton of plays sub 4K I think we love tonight. We'll talk about another in the Milwaukee game in a minute, but yeah, I mean, Smith probably can't play him on FanDuel where you only have the one center spot, but do you have any interest in him here? Obviously backing up Vooch, but I guess the Wolves play pretty big even with Gobert off the floor.
Yeah, I don't love him. I don't hate him either. I'm coming in around the field, and I'll probably end up that way unless we get some crazy news. But we only have him for 16, close to 16 minutes, and he's still projecting as a one of the better DK values on the slate. So I think there's definitely some interest there. The only problem is that he takes up a center spot, and there's a few good centers on this slate.
Yeah, man, really wide range of outcomes for him. Super risky play. I mean, he's had one really big game, I think, against Memphis, where he went 3 for 4 from three. Not really a guy usually marked as a shooter. But yeah, I mean, not the best spot for Vooch here. Kobe White, obviously, he's been playing well. Josh Giddey coming off a pretty poor shooting game, and then Ao was in that lineup that I had, but didn't really play all that well. But with Levine out, you got to assume all these guys get a boost in usage, right? So not the best matchup, but I think they're all kind of priced where they should be. I'm going right back to Ao. It looks like the field is kind of getting there too as well, though. After him, I feel pretty good about Vooch. I mean, White and Giddy I'll mix in, but I like Vooch and I think Ao the most. Where are you at on these guys?
Yeah, I like AO too. He let us down a little last night, but his price just fits on this slate, and he's going to get the minutes. So I like going there.
Yep. Yep. Totally agree. I mean, he shot terribly, 2 for 13 from the field. I have to think he can improve on that a little bit tonight. Like I said, he was still in the lineup I had that got us that takedown, which just kind of goes to show you. We talk about this. Like, if there's chalk value, it's easier to just kind of eat that chalk and get different with your payups. Usually, that's where tournaments are mostly won and lost. Like, if chalk doesn't hit, and it's not that AO was like super popular, but obviously it didn't kill me. I also had who was it, Watson and Najee Marshall in that lineup who didn't do all that well. But again, they were cheap enough to get me what I needed at other positions. Could be a similar situation here tonight, but personally, I do think we see much better out of Ao. I do want to ask you, he's probably going to start. They've been running him off screens, which is pretty weird. Hasn't been playing well, but do you have any interest in someone like Patrick Williams?
Yeah, I actually don't mind it. He kind of gets some stocks too. The minutes will probably be there. It's not the best matchup you could ask for, but I still think he's in play. Definitely at under 5K.
Yeah, I'm with you. And honestly, more than anything, it's just that forward's kind of harder to fill than some of the other positions. I will at least mention Taylor Horton Tucker. On DK, he does have that forward eligibility. 4K, I mean, I don't know. He did get a few more minutes last night, played 16. Game before that, though, I think Levine was in, he played 28. So I don't really know how to project him for minutes. It looks like we have him around 17, which I think is fair. But if he gets hot, maybe he spikes a little bit of an upside. I don't know. It'd take me probably a lot of lineups to get there, but say you're playing 150. I mean, are you coming in over the 2%?
Yeah, I definitely would. Some other guys that I have interest on this bench are Dalen Terry, which he's getting some ownership. But my favorite play from the bench is actually going to Buzelis. I think that he's kind of earned a role on this team now. I mean, he's a rookie. They're easing him in, but you seen yesterday he got some minutes. So I'm kind of leaning into that they're going to give him some more minutes today. And at 3K, a 10-point spread, I think he's really interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting because kind of the opposite of Aya. Like he shot really well yesterday, 4 for 9, 3 for 4 from three. But at that price, I mean, again, 3 game slate, you're looking for value. No one's going there. That's a good shout, man. Definitely like it, especially mid price on both sites. I mean, not going to find much else there in that range. So good shout on Bazelis. Let's see what else we got going in chat here. Um, Not much. So let's just go to the next game. And if you guys do have questions, again, 3 game slate, feel free to get them in. We'll probably break a little bit early today. Smitty here's on double duty. He's going to be in Discord answering your questions half hour up until lock. But next we got the Blazers and the Spurs. Spurs are on a back-to-back. It was kind of interesting. It seems like they half gave up that game. Like everyone in that starting lineup, at least, and most of the regular rotation did seem to see limited minutes. Didn't play all that well. Wemby didn't see the normal minutes we were expecting. Paul, I think everyone came in under in terms of minutes, but much better matchup here against the Blazers compared to the matchup they had against the Rockets last night. We could go back to Wemby. I mean, on a slate with not a ton of payups, maybe this comes down now that we have the honest news, but pushing 50% on FanDuel, I totally get it. Power forward eligible, massive upside, pretty good matchup too. And he didn't play a ton of minutes last night. So the back to back could, if anything, kind of secure a few more for him here. But before I keep going down the list here, I do want to bring up just some of this injury news. Trey Jones still out. Devin Vassell still out. Should be back hopefully within the next week or so. And then Jeremy Sochan, unfortunately, that hand injury had to have surgery. Was playing excellent. But yeah, we saw Castle move into the starting lineup, was really popular, didn't do all that well. Looks like he's going to be popular again here tonight. I know me personally, I'm trying to find the extra 600 on both sides to get to Champagne instead. I don't know. There's just better guards, I think, than forwards, like I already said. And yeah, I mean, I just feel better about his floor and ceiling. So I'm on Champagne here pretty heavily. I like Paul. I like Wemby. I'll probably mix in some Keldon. But what's your take on the Spurs initially?
Yeah, I think they all look really good. They've been running pretty good rotations. I do like Champagne, like you said. He's probably my favorite. That's who I'm getting the most of right
Nice.
now. And I think
Nice.
in tournaments on DraftKings, Keldon's really interesting. The one I'm most hesitant on is Chris Paul, just because being on the back end of a back to back, I don't really know if he plays 31 minutes. If he plays 28 minutes, I don't know if he's worth 50% ownership on FanDuel.
Yeah, man, and I'm with you. And it's funny. I was really bullish on him last night. I was talking about him on the stream with Chuck. I was like, "Yeah, Chris Paul, love him here. Don't get why more people aren't getting to him." And then they kind of got blown out. But I will say he only played 19 minutes. He'd been over 32 the 3 games before that. So kind of like I was saying earlier, I feel a little bit better about the minutes just knowing he only played 19. Um, but yeah, I mean, if this game gets weird in either direction, I mean, he's probably the first off the floor, given his age and everything else. So. I don't mind it, but at 50% at 6,600, I can't say I'm excited to get there. Even more expensive on DK. Anything else you want to talk about with the Spurs? I mean, Wemby's Wemby. He's good, high ceiling, okay floor for his price. I'm with you on Keldon, but yeah, and again, we do want to just bring up that Popovich is out, so it hasn't been as weird with the rotations, like you said, with him out. Obviously, want him to get well soon, but for DFS purposes, this interim coach has been a little bit easier to read.
Yeah, yeah, it hasn't been bad at all. Another one that I'm not really interested in is Harrison Barnes. He's been getting the minutes, but he's also just not been very good. And then off the bench, I don't really have a ton of interest in one over the other, but I think like Zach Collins is in play, and same with Branham.
Yeah, those are both fair calls. And I'll say this about Barnes. I mean, he's super frustrating. I never want to play him. I don't know. He seems to spike ceilings on some of these smaller slates, but the ownership's there tonight. So I'm with you. I'll probably not get to much, if any, when we're talking about Harrison Barnes. Over on the Portland side, they're getting some bodies back tonight. So Shady on Sharp is back. Really talented wing. Coming off the bench, though, probably playing limited minutes. We have him for around 20. I think that's fair. I don't know if we got coach speak on the exact number, but coming off the bench, I mean, it's safe to suspect he'll be somewhat limited. Thibault's still out on the wing. Other than that, I think it's mostly G Leaguers. So Aiton, okay here. Obviously, not the best spot against Wemby, but he's affordable. Simons, wide range of outcomes, scoring dependent guard, high ceiling, low floor. Not as popular as some of the other guards in his range, though. I'm disappointed in Denny, man. I mean, I thought him going to Portland would be really good for him. I mean, the minutes have been limited. It seems like he's frustrated. I thought he'd kind of lead this team. We haven't seen that at all. So, not getting to any Denny here. Not that the field is either. But I guess what's your take on Portland? I mean, Kamara's been pretty good if we're talking about maybe a pivot off Champagne, some of the more popular value in that range. But I don't know. The Blazers are a weird team, but I think we want to maybe find something we like here just because the field's kind of feeling the same way. Like, of all the teams on the slate, they're kind of the toughest to get excited about.
Yeah, they are. They're a hard team to project just because of the rotations. They have so many moving pieces, especially with getting more pieces back now. I think Aiton at under 20% is pretty interesting, especially on FanDuel where he's 6,900. Simons as well on FanDuel, he's getting ownership, but on DraftKings he's not. He could hit the 3 point. Like on DraftKings, he's a better play to me. And then you mentioned Denny. I think Denny, he's going to get it going at some point. So I kind of like taking some shots on Denny when he's 2% owned on DraftKings.
Yeah, I mean, at the percentage, it definitely makes some sense. But yeah, it's weird. Like, only played 20 minutes last game, 32 before that, 23 before that. It's exactly what you said, man. I'm just
Yeah.
repeating it at this point. Just weird rotations for these Blazers. But again, Field's not getting there. If you find you have a lot of chalk in your lineup, maybe pick Aiton or Simons as a way to get different. I think that's a good way to go. Check and chat one more time before we get into this last game, and I think there's a lot to like in this last game, so we'll give it some time. Um, yeah, someone mentioned that Paul only played those 18 minutes. Trying to jump ahead here. So I can't pull up the comments right now for whatever reason, but I can see them in YouTube. So even though they're not on the screen, guys, we'll continue to talk these up. But yeah, Kamara looks good. We just mentioned him. Paul only 19 minutes. We talked about that as well. So you guys are on the same page as us. That's a good thing. But yeah, let's get into this last game here. So we got the Jazz, and they're another team getting bodies back against the Bucks. Giannis is in. Unfortunately, we're not going to have all that value we were maybe hoping for. But at the same time, I mean, we have Giannis, top OF index play on the slate by more than 2 points. Very popular on both sides. I think there is enough value to get to him. Tough to pay someone else with him, though, in terms of using up your salary on either side. I like him, though. Obviously, good matchup here against Utah. Still no Chris Middleton. He's going to be out for a while. They have Bar. No, I'm looking at the tomorrow now. I think that's the only significant piece of news. But we did get word that they're changing the starting lineup tonight. There's going to be no more Gary Trent. I think they are now going to be going to Andre Jackson, and the field has adjusted to that quickly. 48% owned on DK, 42% owned on FanDuel. Kind of similar to what we were talking about with Najee Marshall and Peyton Watson for the Nuggets last night, and even a smaller slate. Is Jackson here just kind of a necessary evil now that he's starting?
Yeah, I think his minutes are probably going to be there. They need his athleticism out there. I think he makes sense. I think he just makes a lot of sense at under 4K on both sides.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I mean, I feel pretty good about him as value. We only have him for 24 minutes. If he's playing well, could see a little bit of spike there. Brooke Lopez is still cheap. I mean, even with Giannis back, we've seen him spike the occasional ceiling. I'm fine mixing him in tournaments, but he's usually not this popular. Again, that's a product of the size of the slate. But usually I prefer to play him when he's down in the single digits. Giannis goes without saying. This should drive the Dame ownership down. We're still seeing 40% on FanDuel. Again, pricing's just kind of soft on FanDuel tonight, if we're being honest. So I think he's going to be pretty popular there, regardless at 8,800. But yeah, I mean, I guess Torian Prince is almost like a direct pivot to Jackson if you could find the salary. Not that I feel good about it. AJ Green also shot really well last game. And I don't know if Trent can get on off the bench, maybe he could win that starting job back. But I don't feel great about any of these secondary pieces. I'll probably mix in some Prince. Portis doesn't feel very playable though with Giannis back.
No, he's almost 8K on FanDuel. But yeah, I feel the same way. I think Giannis looks great. If you can get to him, he's probably the top play on the slate. Lillard, I think he looks better on FanDuel, but he's also 40%. I think he looks good as well.
Yeah.
And then I guess Gary Trent and GPPs, if you wanted to take a shot, maybe he finds a shooting rhythm and he comes through for you, but it's a long shot.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes that works. A guy gets benched, he gets pissed off, and he finds his game. I mean, I don't know if we get that here from Trent, especially at the price with Jackson being cheaper, but there's a world where that happens. On the other side, we got Utah, another team getting some bodies back. Laurie's been out. He's back tonight. Clarkson's been out. He's back tonight. Still no Taylor Hendricks. He's out for the season, I think. Couple other pieces from the G League are listed out. Colin Sexton available as well. So this is as healthy as they've been all season. Not shocked that the ownership's down, but this Milwaukee team really isn't the defensive stalwart I think people expect them to be, especially in the backcourt. It's always hard to kind of pick between these guards. I do like Laurie, though. I know there's some concern coming off the injury. We do have him pushing 33 minutes, and he's still sub 8K. So I think I'm going to be way over the field on marketing on both sites. Do I feel great about it off the injury? No, but again, it's a third game slate. I think he's one of the better and almost safer ways to get different in spite of the injury risk. But yeah, man, where are you at on Utah? I just think Laurie's kind of going to be my big stand here.
Yeah, I like Laurie as well. I think a thing with Utah too is they don't have a whole lot to play for. So if they're playing Laurie, he's more than likely 100%. I don't think they'd risk anything. So I feel pretty good about his minutes. So I think in GPPs he's a really good play. And then I don't love playing centers against Milwaukee, but I do think Kessler at 6,100 is pretty good on DraftKings. And then you mentioned the guards. I think they all look really good. Clarkson and Keontae are probably my favorite. I think Clarkson coming off the injury, I feel the same way about Laurie. I don't know if Clarkson starts or not, if he gets his starting job back, but either way, I think he looks really good. And same with Keontae.
Yeah, I think even if he doesn't start, Clarkson is going to look fine here. I mean, the projected lineup I'm seeing has Cody Williams starting. Again, if you're looking for a pivot off of Andre Jackson, not that you need it, Cody Williams probably fits that mold as long as he's in the starting lineup they're playing each other, so we'll definitely know if he's starting or not. And I do want to bring up John Collins. He comes off the bench. This keeps his ownership down. Coming off the best game of his season. Obviously, this was with Laurie and others out, but in 30 minutes, I mean, he got over 50 fantasy points. He's been consistently kind of floating 30 to 35 range on both sites. I think we kind of expect the same from Amir, though. And at low ownership, I mean, not a ton of plays in the 6K range I'm rushing to. I mean, if we're being honest, Keontae George, pretty much the exact same price. I know it's a different position, but I'd rather play Collins. Like, I think he is similar, if not better, upside. I know it's not a good matchup in the front court, but he's playing good basketball for Utah right now. I mean, probably trying to earn his next contract. But yeah, man, it's really the kind of bigger wings for me. I like Laurie. I like Collins. And maybe I mix in some Cody's value if he starts. Can't say I feel good about it, though.
Yeah, I like all that too. Collins has been really good for them.
Yeah, man. He's a tough read. I think in Atlanta for a while they really thought him and Trey were going to be that 1-2. Kind of disappointed, but I don't know. I still think the talent's there. If he's getting the usage, even off the bench, I'm happy to get there. But yeah, let's check out the chat again. For whatever reason, these aren't popping up in in YouTube. Power saying the slate is uglier than my homeboy's rebound after his divorce. It's pretty ugly, man. It is. At the same time, though, we at least have pretty high totals. These games should be somewhat competitive. It's not like we're looking at a bunch of 10+ point spreads, so it's gross. But yeah, I mean, there's enough ways I think to get different. I don't know. We got plenty of time here now. I mean, we could hold off on a minute before we go to the build on DK. But let's take a look quickly at position by position. So I don't know who are your top three guards tonight, and I'm not going to limit you to kind of price range either. Just kind of give me, I don't know, your three favorite guards you think you'll be heaviest on, regardless of I don't know ownership, price, anything.
Okay. Let me see. Probably be for me, Andre Jackson, but I'd prefer to play him in the small forward spot. But I think he's one of the top,
Hmm.
and Io DeSumnu and Dante DiVincenzo.
Okay. Yeah, no, I'm with you. I mean, all of them getting some love. I guess if I'm trying to get a little bit different, maybe we go with someone like Champagne. Again, I think he's better than Castle or ownership. Um, but yeah, AO I love. I'm just frustrated that the field's gotten sharper over the years. Like 5, 6 years ago, AO coming off that game would have like no ownership. But yeah, people are learning that you can't just look at the last thing that's happened to kind of grade these guys. I will say on the high end, I'm fine getting to Dame. Prefer him in lineups without Giannis, but at the same time, 3 game slate, game with the highest total, you could definitely play them together. Um, but yeah, I mean, there's not really any other pay up guards. I guess Edwards, but are you paying up at guard much at all?
Not really. I find myself paying down a lot more.
I'm with you.
Just seems like that's where a lot of the value is.
Yeah, totally, man. Definitely agree on that. But let's talk about forwards as well in the same exact vein. I mean, I'll go first on this one. I'll say Giannis. I like Laurie. I don't get the ownership. I mean, looking at OF Index, I know he's coming off an injury. No word that he's going to be limited, though. Maybe I missed that. Someone let me know. And then I'll throw Nas Reed's name in here. I know he's technically a center. There's other centers we want to play, though. If you're playing Nas, probably playing him at power forward. But this is the type of matchup I like him in. Pretty soft front court, especially when Vooch is off the floor.
Yeah, I like all those. For me, forward probably be Ant. I kind of like Jeremy Grant at his price, and
Nice.
then let's see. I'm gonna go with Kamara.
Nice. Yeah, Grant and Kamara, man. Two lower owned plays, definitely good shouts. So definitely worked well with the guards that you're getting to. So let's go to center, and then we'll do a quick build on DK. Again, if anyone has questions, feel free to get them in. 3 game slate tonight. We're not going to drag it out too long, but yeah, I mean, Wemby at the top. I'm not going to go with Wemby though. I mean, he's almost 50% owned. I like him. I don't want to take too many risks in terms of value. I'll go Vooch. I really like him here. I don't know. No, like I guess I'm gonna say Lopez just because of the price. Don't love it with Giannis in the lineup, but again, I think compared to Portis, compared to some of the other centers, he's just a little bit too cheap. And then since I use Nas as a forward, I'll use Collins as a center. Again, it's the guy I think is a little bit underowned, does have some upside. I'm really kind of targeting this game between Utah and Milwaukee as much as I can. Total's only 3 points higher than Minnesota and Chicago, but I just like that both these teams could really start running up and down the floor. But yeah, where are you at on center, man? I mean, only 3 games, but we do have some decent options.
Yeah, I like Randall. Randall's one of my favorite options. I meant to mention him in forward and forgot,
Mm,
but I like Randall. I like GPP shots on Aiton, and I like let's see, Gobert. That's who it was.
nice, man. Yeah, Gobert's been playing pretty well. Obviously, good spot for him against Vooch. Actually, he's coming off 2 bad games, so maybe that's what's keeping ownership down. I like the Gobert shot. I think at his ownership, he makes plenty of sense. So definitely want to get to some of him. But yeah, let's go over to DK now and get a build. Couple quick questions here. Courtney bringing up Dalen Terry's name. I know you said you like him. I'm fine getting to him as well. But do you want to just kind of add on the Dalen Terry take at all? I think it's a good value play.
Yeah, I think Terry's fine. He's almost minimum price on DraftKings, so I definitely prefer it there. But if he sees 20 minutes, he probably don't kill you at near min price, and with a 10-point spread, there's upside for more. So I kind of like going there.
Yeah, man, totally with you. Power with the news that there is no minutes limit for Clarkson or Laurie. So again, I love Laurie. If that ownership holds, might be my favorite play on the slate. Just kind of factoring in everything. We did have a question here. Where is it? Um, is Ant a scary fade? So to me, no, because he hasn't been playing all that well. I just think there's enough other guard plays like Dame's on this slate, Simons, or if you're paying up for Giannis, like I feel even better about getting away from Ant. In one lineup, I don't even know that I'd have him. He's an awesome play, obviously massive, massive upside. The FanDuel price is wrong, but we do have pivots, so I don't think it's terrifying for a 3 gamer. But where are you at on Ant? Are you trying to come in over or under on both sides? I mean, he's a good
Um,
play, no denying it.
yeah, I think he's fine. I'll probably end up being around the field on him.
I'm with you, man. Sounds good to me. What else we got here? Yeah, either or. We got a CP3 or Grant. I mean, that's a tough one for me. I know you played terrible last game. There's some concern about the minutes. For me, it's Paul. I feel like you might go Grant though. Between CP3 and Grant, who you like? And I'll just look to the model too to break the tie.
Uh, I'd probably lean CP3, but in larger field, I like going with Grant.
Yeah, Grant does have the higher OF index, which is really factoring an upside. But yeah, I think Paul's a little bit safer. So depends on your contest. If you want to really chase the big top of a leaderboard and something bigger, probably go with Grant. But cash game, something smaller field, CP3 is probably the answer to that one. But yeah, man, let's build a lineup here. See where we at, where we're at. Excuse me. Um, but yeah, I had this in my head that I was going to start the lineup with this guy just because I think he's under owned, and you said you liked him as well. I'm going to go with Champagne here. I know it's kind of a weird play to click in first. I don't think he's the best play on the slate, but I made a mental note. I'm going to put him in. But where else should we go? Should we start with Giannis? You think?
Yeah, I like getting Giannis, and then probably Andre Jackson.
Nice. Yeah, that makes plenty of sense. All right. So maybe small forward. Again, all these games start at the same time, so you don't have to worry where these guys are slotted tonight, really. Forward's tricky. I like Laurie. I mean, even on DK pushing 8K, I think it's
Yeah, I
one
like
of the
that.
better ways. Yeah, good way to get different. So we could get a little chalkier. Center,
Uh,
can we afford? I mean, go Bear probably. Mm,
yeah, Bear would be good. I don't think we really want Brook just because we already have Giannis.
yeah,
I mean,
with
you can
Giannis.
play them together, but in a hand build, I think it's kind of weird.
No, I agree. I mean, if Brook has a ceiling game, Giannis probably doesn't, but
Yeah,
it's happened. I mean, we could go Bear. Actually, I prefer Aiton slightly. I know you like him too.
yeah, yeah.
I'll
Let's
go
do.
Aiton. All right, so now we got to dig for some value. We're back at guard. Conley's cheap. Alexander Walker's cheap. Um, DiVincenzo, right?
Yeah, I like DiVincenzo.
And then I think we can go Kamara at forward if you wanted. Or was there anyone else in that range?
Yeah, I think Kamara looks good, or Nas, either one.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can afford, or we just barely can afford both. But either way, I think you're good. And then we land on AO. So that's
Yeah,
a pretty lineup right there, in my opinion. Um, yeah, someone play that. Let us know how it does. But yeah, guys, once again, thanks for tuning in. A little bit shorter of a show tonight with just the 3 games. I think the guys are doing some stuff for NFL as well. I know Brian had the video recorded earlier in the day. But like the video, subscribe to the channel, check out the links in the Discord below. I'm going to let Smitty go get a drink, do what he needs to do. He's going to be in Discord in 10 or 15 minutes, taking you guys up into lock with any late breaking news, starting lineups, things like that. One last peek on questions, and then we'll jump. I think that's it. So yeah, Champagne or DiVincenzo. Champagne floor, DiVincenzo ceiling. But we'll leave you with that, guys. Good luck, everyone, tonight. Let's see those screenshots. Take